What's happening, people? All right, a lot of people have been talking about this whole Dave Chappelle special, and a lot of people have been asking me what I think of it. All right, here's my 2 pence. Yeah, I'm saying 2 pence because I'm British, people, not 2 cents. 2 pence. Where do I start? Listen, when a comedian does their first stand-up special, it's usually a culmination of years and years of being on the road, honing that set. And so that first special is usually minimum 7 to 10 years worth of material that you've been honing. Then you get to a point where you're super successful and people start throwing money at you to make specials. And then the quality of the product can drop. I'm not saying it does for every comedian, but it can drop when they start throwing money. When the Netflixes are coming to you with 10 million or 20 million or $30 million to make a special, you're going to put out a special regardless of whether it's ready or not. The temptation is big. Now, I'm not saying that Chappelle put out a special that wasn't ready, but was it his best special? In my humble opinion, no. Was it an exercise in self-indulgence? I'm going to say yes. I'll tell you why. He's Dave fucking Chappelle. He's the biggest comedian on the planet now, and he's rich enough and gets paid enough to do whatever and talk about whatever the fuck he wants to. And he had a point to make. He was unhappy about certain things that were being said about him over the last year, and he was exercising that privilege as the biggest comedian in the world to say what he had to say, and made an entire special on the subject and was probably paid extremely handsomely for it. Was I offended by his special? No, I wasn't offended. I mean, I'm a comedian, so my sensibilities are a little bit different. My skin is a bit thicker, probably, because I'm a comedian. I'm a comedian first and foremost. But as a black gay woman, I was not offended. I'm not saying that everything he said in that special was right. I can see what he was trying to do. I think he was more talking about the racism within feminism, and racism within the LGBTQIA+ community, and it's racism specifically within the trans community. I think he was speaking to that more than a phobia. I don't believe he has a phobia. I mean, I wasn't offended. I'm not gonna lie. Some of his jokes were misguided. They were misguided because they're coming from the mind of a cisgendered straight man. So yes, some of his stuff, there was some ignorance in there. There was some misguidance. Was there hatred and disdain, which for me denotes phobia? No, I don't think there was phobia. I don't think he's transphobic. I don't think he's homophobic. But yeah, some of those jokes were close to bone. Some of them were offensive. But so what? This is art. This is the whole point of art. As long as you're not punching down on people, and as long as your comedy is not coming from a place of hatred, you should be allowed to say whatever the fuck you want to say. Some of it may be wrong. I thought some of it was wrong. But also I could see what he was trying to do. So should he be cancelled for that? Should his special be pulled off the air? No, it shouldn't be. But he's a comedian, and all he's doing is comeding. I tell you what did offend me. Not this special. I've never been offended by anything Dave Chappelle said. But what did offend me is things he hasn't said. For instance, the special 846. That offended me. That he was talking about George Floyd and the black man that being murdered at the hands of police and killed under suspicious circumstances. And yet, there was no mention of any black women in that special. Except Candice Owens to talk about how stinky her pussy was. That, as a black woman, offended me. That offended me more than anything that Chappelle has said. So, yeah, I was truly offended by that. I ain't gonna lie, I was offended by that. And I did lose a bit of respect for him over it. And if I was to ever be able to be in a room with him where I could talk about it with him, I absolutely would. But was I on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook demanding that he be cancelled and demanding that his special be taken off? No, it's his prerogative as a comedian to talk about whatever the fuck he wants to talk about, as long as he is not inciting hatred and violence against any group of people, which I don't think he ever has. I don't think he's got a problem with trans people or gay people or women, but there's definitely an issue with black women. Yeah, I'm going to say it. I ain't going to lie. I laughed my ass off at the impossible and beyond pussy joke. Yes, I did. Because, yeah, it was tasteless. It was kind of gross. But it is also kind of funny. But then, I'm not a trans person, so I can understand that they are pissed off with the straight men's obsession with their genitalia. And I get that. But this is a fact of life. And if you can't talk about the things that people are thinking, their darkest thoughts, then what is the point? We cannot do our art if you're going to be policing everything we say. But here's the thing. I've always said as a comedian that if you cannot do your material in a room full of the people that you're talking about, if you feel uncomfortable doing that, then you know your shit is either racist or phobic in some way, depending on the group of people. So my thing would be, would Chappelle be willing to do that material in a room full of transgendered people? If he is and would, then he would know for sure that his stuff isn't transphobic. That is how I judge all my material. If I cannot do the material that I'm doing in a room full of those very people, then I know deep down that what I'm doing is offensive. So here's a challenge for Chappelle. To prove all the naysayers wrong, put on a show in the trans community or in the LGBTQI community, in a lesbian and gay center in LA or something. Do a show there for the people that you're talking about and walk that line. Those are my thoughts on the subject. That was a very long video of me talking, but I hope you get what I'm saying. All right, peace.